I think so here for my
Here?
paper.
All right. There you go.
Okay.
You set it here and. All right. Are you nervous?
No,
seem very calm.
now a little bit, but I'm fine. What is the rest of the people staying here or only?
It's just over you. One at a time. Yep.
Who was first?
Dennis King. So somebody's going to come up first and
Yep.
thank everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And then it's going to be Anna Margaret Jones. Then it's going to be Gemma Van Hole Award.
Okay.
And then it's going to be, wait, we're missing a page here, Ernesto.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay, no worry.
Oh, it's right after Gemma Van Hole. And then Mary Jane's introduction of you.
Perfect.
Okay?
Let's do it.
All right.
Bringing Earth's resources to life is more than just our mission. It's at the heart of all we do. Each of the 10,000 Simplot employees share the same spirit and drive for innovation.
Innovation is just part of this company. We're all trying to figure out how to do something better.
Headquartered in Boise, Idaho, we have grown to become one of the world's leading privately held food and agribusiness companies with major operations in the United States and around the world. From processing avocados in Mexico, to helping nature grow a potato that's better for the environment, to developing agricultural solutions in China, to maintaining our leadership as the largest retail food supplier in Australia, our global reach continues to expand and flourish. And yet, as a true farm-to-table company, we are all farmers at heart. Each of us is focused on a single purpose: to feed a growing population.
Right now, 6 feet can feel like a long ways away. But from 6 feet, we can still smile at each other. From our doorways and our stairways, from opposite sides of the street and opposite sides of the country. Through fear and frustrations, we can remind each other that we are still here for each other. Because we can still smile at each other. And we're not going anywhere.
Good morning. Welcome, everybody. If you could please take a moment and take your seat. Good morning. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Missy Good, and I am the Development Director for the Learning Lab. And I cannot tell you how absolutely thrilled we are to see all of your faces today. So please, big round of applause for all of you. As you know, it has been quite the trying last couple of years, and we have put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into having this event. So we thank you so much for your support. We thank all of you for coming out here. This is our 29th annual Lunch for Literacy. Woo! and our first ever hybrid Lunch for Literacy. So a big shout out and a thank you to all of those who are watching virtually today. We are so excited that you have taken the time out to really help our community and empower those who need it the most. So thank you. Again, this event could not have gone on without the support of so many people in our community. And it is now my pleasure to thank all of those fantastic sponsors who are here with us today and are watching. Again, we have an unprecedented year this year, so we have 2 presenting sponsors. So thank you so much to our presenting sponsors, Gustafel Goss, and the J.R. Simplot Company. We have 2 gold sponsors as well. We have Delta Dental and George and Bev Herod. We have fabulous silver sponsors. Thank you, Ørsted Architects, Intermountain Gas Company, Patricia Forbes, Julie and Jack Hawkins, Idaho Power, St. Alphonsus Foundation, and Holly Truxall and Paula and John Kluckstall. And thank you to our bronze sponsors. Thank you, AJ and Susie Belukoff, Bank of Idaho, Windermere Powerhouse Group, Boise Cascade Company, Boise Endodontics, BSU College of Education, D.A. Davidson, Duke Evatt PLLC, Ide Bailey, EKC Inc., Annette and Brad Elge, First Interstate Bank, Alan and Patty Head, Hewlett Packard, ICCU, Idaho Writers Guild, KPMG, Lisi Bishop Real Estate, McEnany and Associates, Morgan Stanley, Patty Northrup, Northwest Real Estate Capital Corps, Pacific Value LLC, St. Luke's Health System, Slattery Orthodontics, Steve Schaus, in memory of Tanya Storty, Jeff Storty, United Heritage Insurance, and U.S. Bank. Huge round of applause for all these fabulous sponsors. And we always have to give a shout out to our media partners. Thank you, KTVB, Idaho's News Channel 7, the Idaho Statesman, Brad Ellsberg Studios, OMG Female Filmmakers, and Zila Photography. Thank you, thank you. And then we always have to thank those who have donated in order to allow our students and volunteers to attend this fabulous event as well. So thank you all of those for donating tickets so those people could be here. We don't want you to forget that we do have our auction this year. I think you guys have all seen that it is not in this room, but don't worry, it's at your fingertips. So please, the auction ends tomorrow at noon. Don't forget, we have fabulous items this year. So go on there and bid for those. Again, it closes at noon tomorrow. We have to thank Albertsons for the fantastic centerpieces that you see. And for those of you who are lucky enough to sit at the right seat, if you look under your coffee saucer, there should be a heart Post-it under one at each table, and whoever's that is, you get to take it home today. Does. Again, we just want to say thank you to all of you for taking the time to come out to either watch us or be here today. It's because of you that the Learning Lab exists. So thank you, enjoy your meal, and our program will start shortly.
right, I think we'll get the program started, but please continue to eat. All right, thank you all for coming this afternoon to the 29th Annual Lunch for Literacy. My name is Kara Fink, and I am honored to be the president of the Learning Labs Board of Directors this year. And I have over 5 years of experience witnessing the amazing life-changing work that the Learning Lab does through its English language classes, through its GAD classes, through its preschool and family literacy classes, and through its citizenship classes. And it is the staff and the volunteers and the tutors and the people here in this room who really are making that happen. So I hope you are all as excited as I am today to hear some of those stories from the Learning Lab and to hear more about the impact that they're having on the community. And also I'd like to take a moment and just acknowledge that we have made it here, which is had seemed like a pretty tall feat at some point, and the eternal gratitude that I have to the frontline workers and healthcare workers who have been keeping our community safe and healthy for the last 2 years and longer. And it is because of them that the Learning Lab and many of those the other programs that we have going on are able to be carried out at all. So this is happening in large part because of that. So those of you in the room, I'm thrilled to see people face to face again. It's nice to like others, this might be the largest social event I've been to in a couple of years, which a couple of years ago would have seemed impossible. But, and then also, if we have to look for silver linings, that ability for all of us to come together virtually when we can't be together physically has allowed this event to be hybrid this year. And there are so many supporters who are calling in, taking time out of their busy day today, or tuning in to be part of this program and celebrate and support the Learning Lab. So thank you everyone in this room. Thank you to the many people who are supporting the Learning Lab virtually. And we're excited to kick off the 29th lunch. So some housekeeping. If you're here in the room, please remember to wear your mask when you're not actively eating or drinking. The restrooms, there are so many of them in this venue. Just head that way and go in any direction and you will find restrooms. The program will continue through lunch, so please enjoy your meal, grab a glass of wine, enjoy the afternoon. And then, as we know, the people power running the Learning Lab is phenomenal. And in addition to that phenomenal people power, the Learning Lab needs funds to continue the amazing community building work that it's doing. And that is a large part of what we're here for today, is every one of these dollars that we raise today goes directly to the work in literacy. And a lot of us here, maybe not a lot, but some of us can take literacy for granted when it's something that you've had forever. But when you're not literate, it is a lot more difficult to fill out housing applications or to file your taxes or to even read stories with your children at night. And that power that people are able to reclaim or to claim when they have literacy is a partnership through them and the students and tutors at the Learning Lab. And so all of the auctions, the donations, the funds that we raise from today will go directly to that work. So I think there's some slides on exactly how to access the auction. But if you're located here in the room, there's a QR code at your table. Take your camera phone. If anyone's, I'm not a hip Gen Z person, but take your camera phone, put it on the QR code, and you can donate, you can look through the program, and then you can also bid on any of the fabulous auction items today. If you are attending virtually, on the page that you use to log in, there are buttons to do donations, to look at the program, and to join the auction. And so now I would like to ask a couple groups of excellent community supporters to stand. I'm going to address the awkwardness of when we clap right now. So I'm going to ask you to stand. Stay standing while I announce the other people that we'll have standing. At the end, we're going to have a great group of phenomenal people, and we will all applaud for all of them. So if you could hold your applause till the end. So I would like to the following groups to stand to be recognized for their outstanding service. Please, members of the Junior League of Boise, which is Learning Lab's founding organization, please stand. Thank you. Learning Lab's Board of Directors. Learning Lab's Advisory Board, please. We're embracing the awkwardness of the silence. It's going to be great when we get to the end. Learning Lab Volunteer Tutors. There's probably a lot of you in here. Learning Lab staff, and our special guests, the Learning Lab students. Please stand. We're excited to have you here today. So around the room, we have phenomenal community supporters. If we give them a welcome, resounding applause. Thank you all for all that you've done for the community. And now I am very excited to introduce someone who has had just about every job at the Learning Lab that she could have possibly had before landing this one. She is someone who lives the values and the vision of the organization, and she inspires me with her heart and her humor every day. So please help welcome Monique Smith, the Executive Director of the Learning Lab.
Yay, we're here. Thanks for being here. And Leanne Hume, where are you? Finally got that table after 2 years. Good job. Okay, I have to hang out here for just 1 second. I gotta find my official notes. So, welcome everyone. Whether you're here in person or joining us virtually, please know how happy we are you are here. It's been a wild ride for us all these years. Can you hear me okay? Am I echoing? Are you good? Okay, maybe it's just in my ears. Because of you, we're able to continue offering our literacy programs throughout the pandemic, both in person and virtually. On behalf of Learning Lab staff, and especially our students, the focus of our mission, a heartfelt thank you. And speaking of thanks, I'd like to thank Learning Lab's Board of Directors for their stability, direction, support, and for being my sounding board. I am a fortunate executive director to have a board such as you. I also want to thank our volunteer tutors who continue to show up to help our students, whether in a physical classroom, masked, vaxxed, and boosted, or Zooming through a computer screen. As has been true for the past 30 years, we could not do this without you. And I especially want to thank Learning Lab staff. I am a little nervous about saying too much about my staff because I will become a blubbering fool up here. However, your demonstrated commitment to our students and our mission has given me strength when I was not feeling particularly strong. You have approached the challenges of these past years with resilience, adaptability, and good humor. In short, you are my heroes. And this is where I get sad. Oh, I have to get emotional. You're my heroes. I shouldn't be crying about heroes. I am grateful for you every day. A special shout out to Cassie, Jen, Missy, Claudia, and Kayla for all of your hard work tending to the myriad details of the auction and this luncheon. Wine is on me afterwards. Okay, here we roll. Each year, we recognize and celebrate a person or persons who has demonstrated the intention and generous spirit of Anna Margaret Jones. Anna Margaret was integral in establishing Learning Lab as a respected and valued community resource for those desiring to transform their lives through literacy. I love that picture of Anna Margaret. It's a great picture. Last year, we honored the Junior League of Boise. The group of talented, visionary women provided the foundation for the organization we are today. 30 years ago, they started a literacy project, the Literacy Lab, with a teacher and 4 students and computers the size of small cars. Today, we have a staff of 14 and serve hundreds of students each year with the help of hundreds of volunteer tutors, and students Zoom to attend class on their phones. Now, I worked at Learning Lab 20 years ago with those gigantic computers, so it's just weird that people are now coming to class on their phones. This year, we honor our dear friend, former board member and current tutor and longtime supporter of Learning Lab for this Anna Margaret Jones Legacy Award, Dennis Kane. Oh, Dennis. Dennis has the admirable ability to look for the positive and approach the negative with humor. His "we can do this" attitude for working through challenges helped me enormously when I took on the role of executive director. And without a doubt, it inspires the students he works with each time he tutors. And that inspiration is a two-way street. Dennis, too, is inspired by our students, and his admiration for their determination to learn and improve their lives has greatly impacted his strong advocacy of our programs. Heartfelt thanks to you, Dennis, and come on up here, for your wonderful spirit, your generosity, your humor and support, and for continuing to show up in our classrooms with a kind heart, even during golf season.
Thanks, sweetie.
Oh, I have this award. I think one year we dropped this. It won't be this year.
You know I'll probably drop it, right?
Yeah, I know.
That's great.
Yeah. Do you want to?
I'm going to say something. I'm never going to pass on a chance to say something. Well, it'd be an understatement to say this was a surprise. I didn't see this coming, and I'm flattered and actually a little bit stunned to be on the list with these other recipients. What I thought I'd do is just talk a little bit about some of the things that I love about the Learning Lab, but I jotted down my first list and realized it'd take a little bit over an hour, so I've cut it back to about 45 minutes. I love the history of the Learning Lab. Monique was just talking about some of those points. The idea originated with the Junior League more than 30 years ago. And as she said, it was originally called the Literacy Lab and started with a mere 4 students. I love our original executive director, Gemma Van Hole. Gemma, can you stand up? Where is she? There she is. Gemma had the vision to see what the Learning Lab could become over those 30 years. The lab has grown to almost 500 students. I love the generosity and legacy of Anna Margaret Jones, who was the primary donor in the capital campaign that allowed us to obtain our office in Garden City in 2006. I love the partnership that the lab has established and maintained with the Boise School District and the Boise City Library. That has enabled the lab to conduct classes at numerous locations around town and make them much more accessible to our students. I love our staff at the lab. These are dedicated, hardworking people. They have a deep care factor for the students and have a real rapport with the students. The fact that the staff loves their work is borne out by the very low turnover rate we've had over the years, which has resulted in a great environment for the lab as a whole. I love our executive director, Monique Smith, but then who doesn't love Monique Smith? Is there anyone? She's the best, and Monique took us through what could have been a very difficult transition period without any problems. And when the pandemic hit, Monique and her staff just took that head on, and the lab thrived. I believe that if we ever get COVID under control, the lab will be in better shape than it ever has been. I love the lab's board of directors and advisory board. I was lucky enough to serve on the board for 6 years, and I always look forward to those meetings. These boards have provided tremendous direction and insight to the benefit of the lab. I love our tutors and volunteers. Nita and I have tutored for about 6 or 7 years, and it really is a rewarding experience. The lab currently has about 270 volunteers, and I don't think you can find a tutor that doesn't think that the rewards are far greater than the time that they invest. Last fall, I was lucky enough to tutor a young lady from Afghanistan who's been in Boise for 6 years. She was able to pass her citizenship test, and over the Christmas break, she was sworn in as a U.S. citizen. I love our donors and sponsors. The lab obviously could not exist without the generosity of those people. There are many worthwhile nonprofits, and we all get numerous donations or requests for donations every month. And if you're like me, I think sometimes you kind of wonder where your dollar really went. You don't have to wonder with the Learning Lab. If you want to schedule a time to come down and visit one of our classes, you can see your donation at work. And you're also welcome to attend to learn about the lab sessions that are held several times during the year. And I know that we all love the Lunch for Literacy. This is our major fundraiser for the year, and we hope you'll help us again this year as you always have in the past. I would like to challenge everyone here to find the time this year to bring just one more person into the Learning Lab family, either as a tutor, a part-time tutor, a donor, or a volunteer in some other capacity. Even though the lab's doing great, we need to continue to grow, and we need to continue to ask for your help. Last but no means the least, I love the students at the lab. Over the years, there have been almost 4,000 students that have gone through the Learning Lab. And I don't think we can imagine what it would be like to spend your entire life in Afghanistan or the Sudan or Colombia and then be dropped off in Boise, Idaho. That might be just a bit of a challenge, but these folks are courageous, they're resilient, they're humble and they're kind, and they really appreciate everything that the Learning Lab offers for them and their preschool children. A couple years ago, I mentioned at the lunch, and there's a quote that kind of summarizes for me what the lab is all about, and it still does. Dr. Martin Luther King said that we may have all come here on different ships, but we're all in this boat now. And in my opinion, the Learning Lab's a pretty nice boat. Thank you.
So much for Dennis's time limit. Oh, well. And now it is time, get all my notes here, for Gemma Van Hole Scholarship. Gemma Van Hole, Learning Lab's first executive director, my mentor and my friend, and Gwen's Grammy, believed, demonstrated that when a student's desire to improve their literacy skills is combined with the talents and compassion of community, lives change. In honor of Gemma's passion and our determined and resilient students, today we honor Ernesto Martinez Rivas. One of his educators, Mary Jane Fields, will tell us a little bit more about Ernesto. And Mary Jane is not in the room, but she's watching. Happy Big 5-0, Mary Jane. Happy birthday, woo! Okay, time to cue that video of Mary Jane.
Hi, I am Learning Labs educator Mary Jane Fields. I have the pleasure of introducing you to the recipient of this year's Gemma Van Hole Award for Student Excellence, Ernesto Martinez Rivas. Ernesto was born in Nicaragua, but moved as a young child with his family to Costa Rica. He didn't have the opportunity to go to school beyond the first few years, as he was from a large family where everyone needed to help out. Ernesto met his wife, Chelsea, a Peace Corps volunteer in Costa Rica, and together they moved to Boise in 2017. When Ernesto first enrolled at Learning Lab, he didn't speak any English, but he worked diligently and soon was able to communicate. His next goal was to become a US citizen. He studied for months with his tutors to prepare for his interview and tests, which of course he aced, and was sworn in as a United States citizen last summer. Ernesto now participates in Learning Lab's Family Literacy Program with his sweet 2-year-old daughter, Amabel. Ernesto is a model student in family literacy, working together with his daughter. He also continues to make great progress in his English learning and hopes to one day earn his GED.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary Jane. And Ernesto, you want to come up on the stage?
Hello, everyone. Okay, 1 second. It's ready. Okay, hello, everyone. My name is Ernesto. I'm here a little nervous, but yeah, I'm nervous. Okay, my first class at Learning Lab was in September 2017. I'm very nervous. My wife walked to me into the door. Now, I go to the class and enter with confidence. The tutors are my friend, and the teacher always help me. They celebrate with me when I pass my citizenship test. Now, they are helping me studying for my GED. When my daughter was born, I brought her to class with me, and now she has her own class and teacher. I am grateful that Learning Lab support my family, not just me. As a child, I did not have opportunity to study. Now I'm old, but Learning Lab, but Learning Lab give me the opportunity to study and learn. It makes me proud to know my daughter already has his opportunity to learn. Thank you everyone today for supporting Learning Lab students like me. And thank you Learning Lab teacher and tutor for your supporting. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernesto. And he and his wife, Chelsea Amabel, she is here. She's beautiful. So say hello. She's a little blown away. As her mom said, she's a pandemic baby. So she walked here, she was like, whoa, what are all these people? As I mentioned earlier, volunteer tutors have been integral to the delivery of our programs since our inception. Our talented educators create individual lessons for our students based on each student's needs and goals. Our tutors work one-on-one or in small groups with students, guiding them through these lessons. They get to know students' educational strengths and challenges, both important when helping students make progress. More importantly, however, and what keeps students and tutors coming back year after year, is that though they may have completely different life experiences, educations, countries of origin, religions, they find common humanity in a Learning Lab classroom. This year's video highlights that unique community cultivated between tutors and students and the admiration each has for the other. As you will see, it is mutually beneficial and inspiring. Thanks to Jean, Pat, Surette, Teresa, Chad, Steve, Martha, John, Samantha, and Isabel for providing your perspectives. And a shout out to our filmmaker, Steph Cohen, who managed to sort through so much footage to weave these perspectives together.
people have goals and they're coming to Learning Lab to get the skills so that they can achieve those goals. And I find that very inspiring.
When I moved to here, I didn't speak nothing English, and obviously I didn't understand nothing. My time here was so hard, but I started to study in Learning Lab, and the tutors helped me a lot.
Learning Lab students inspire me by their dedication to improving themselves, getting more educated for their family and for their community.
Their perseverance, their dedication, the fact they work so hard. I've had students who've worked a night shift and then gone to class at 9 o'clock in the morning, trying to get a GED or their citizenship.
We have students who work or have a job, maybe at the hospital, cleaning at night. They have a family and children, and often, usually they're moms. I've worked with a lot of moms. And they come to learn English.
I got really lucky on my first GED math student. It was a guy called Arnolfo, and he kept doubting himself, and he knew the kind of how to do all the problems, but he kept doubting himself, and he would kind of go back and forth, and I'm like, you know this, and finally he did get the confidence, he got his GED, and I was super, super stoked.
There's one fellow right now who comes from a full-time job at night, and he stops here to learn English. And to me, that's gold.
I love it because it's not like a tutor and a student. It's more than friendship, and it's more than you don't feel they are mad with you. No. They are with me like a friend.
They're so eager. I mean, they're all in their own ways. So some are kind of quiet at the beginning, but as you get to know them more and more, they come out. And they're just, so many of them are just like sponges for information and knowledge.
For me, the things I love the most are like the little interactions where you might be sitting there going over the same information several times in a row, and there might be something that they're just not quite there yet. It's just not quite clicking. And sometimes it just kind of goes, and you can watch that aha moment, and you can watch the student go, wait a minute, I get this. And they get so excited and they get so proud, and you can see that grin.
So many of them have faced and continue to face tremendous obstacles in their life, obstacles that I would never have dreamed of. And they continue to strive to overcome those obstacles. They have such courage and perseverance and determination.
You know, they're all here to learn. They're all dedicated. They're all enthusiastic. There's no complaining. I was thinking about it. I've never even had a student say, I can't get this, or it's too hard. I mean, they're all just here to work and work and work and accomplish their goals. So they're very inspiring. And they're all working, long hours, at kids to take care of, but they keep coming.
When I start my job, I work in a restaurant, and I talk with my tutor, what is my job? And they prepare class especially for my job. And that helped me a lot.
We've got students who've grown up here, who've always been here, but for some reason or another, their education got halted along the way. Even those students find a new community here. Even those students find peers here, find people that they don't have to be embarrassed around if they're illiterate adults, because that's what we're here for.
What keeps me coming is the community that I feel here. You feel like you're really helping with the education of whether it's a toddler or an adult student. And yeah, I love it.
Learning Lab is all about helping people communicate. Communicate in English or communicate their knowledge on a test, a GED. It's communication. And when you think about it, really the most important thing in the world, I think, is for people to communicate with each other.
I don't have words for explain my gratitude for my tutors. I can say only thank you for your time. Thank you for helping me a lot. Thank you for changing my life. Thank you for making me feel part of Boise. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I won't be as long as Dennis Kane. I don't think anyone else can either. My name is Jeff Goss, and I am one of Anna Margaret Jones's grandchildren. And it's been a privilege over the years to see where this organization started back 30 plus years ago with an amazing group of women from junior league to where it is now. And I'm just proud to be part of this whole organization. Our family's been long-time supporters of Learning Lab, which includes my parents, my aunt and uncles, cousins, sisters, my wife, and it's just the need here and the importance of that is vital regarding literacy in this community, and this organization, in my mind, just couldn't be any better. So first off, I do want to give thanks here to Mark Miller, who's sitting at our table, and his family. They generously donated $30,000 as a match at our ask today, and I just want to congratulate him and his family for being so generous. And I've known Mark since the 8th grade, so it's been fun. He's been like that since 8th grade, his generosity, and coincidentally, he's been the same height. So it's been very nice. So, and today, it should go up here in a moment though, but our goal today is to raise $100,000. And like I said, the Miller Family Foundation and Mark have generously donated $30,000 as a match at $30,000. So, seeing this community, seeing how involved people are, I know we can get to that goal, so we really appreciate not only you being here today, but your dollars that go just to an excellent, excellent organization. So thank you very much. And to start it off, I believe it's up there. You obviously can use your QR code. Yes, please. And then I believe someone's coming up here in a moment, but if not, that's fine too. So thank you very much for everyone's donation. And I believe it's not up there yet, but the Dorr family has also graciously donated $10,000 to start the bidding. So hats off to them. Thank you very much.
Could we bring up that thermometer, see where we're at? Oh, all right. Got a ways to go. All right, ooh, 25%. Here we go. Can we get to, please, let's get to 30 here so we get that other 30. Right on. Keep it coming. All right. We'll get there. We're going to get there. We will.
Get your phones out, everybody. That's what you do.
Awesome. Well,
Lori said she won't come up.
And speaking of, we'll leave this thermometer up in a little part of the screen, but we will have, we'll get going with the rest of our show, and we'll take a look at this again as it climbs. Okay, yeah, we're gonna introduce Lori here. All of us are here today, yes, to support Learning Lab, and also because we love books. We love reading them, sharing them, discussing them, bidding on them, and sometimes smelling them. Does anyone else like to smell books? And because we love books, we often are in awe of those who write them. Authors compel us to step out of our own day-to-day worlds into ones they've created. They provide unique settings, interesting characters, unexpected plots, crazy conflicts, and we are transfixed by this literary magic. It's my great pleasure today to introduce our guest author, Laurie Frankel, who uses her special literary magic to tell stories with heart, humor, and humanity. She's written 4 novels and published numerous essays and articles. I have a wonderful memory of reading her book 1, 2, 3 in one weekend while sitting around a campfire in Montana this past summer. I did not budge except to refill my wine glass. I am so grateful for Laurie's enthusiastic willingness to come to Boise as we climb out of this pandemic and join together again. Undoubtedly, she was also wooed by the temptation of sunlight after months of Seattle gray. Whatever it takes, Laurie, we are happy you are here. Come on up.
It's true, and I feel like it's a funny secret to admit at the beginning of things here that I'll go anywhere where there's sunshine. So I feel like that's a funny thing to admit in front of a ballroom full of people. Hi, all. Thank you for being here. And thank you for having me here. I want to say that there are not a lot of organizations to which I would have said yes to this invitation at this juncture, particularly because it came a year ago, and it was very hard to see that traveling was going to be safe and that talking to a room full of people was going to be a safe thing to do. But this organization obviously was one of them. This is a remarkable organization. This is a remarkable gift to this community. I feel really, really honored to stand up here and just say thank you to all of you for doing this work and for making this organization the clearly vibrant, inspiring thing that it is. I think that it is what the world needs now. And actually, I think it is what the world needs always. So I want to thank you for your generosity and for being here and for having me here. When my kids started kindergarten, she was very nervous about what she was going to learn. And I said, you're going to learn to read. And there is not a single thing you will learn for the rest of your life that will be as important or as useful or as used as learning how to read. So I think that it is actually impossible to overstate literacy and the importance of literacy. So I want to thank you for all of that. And I want to know what time it is so I don't go over time. Monique, when she invited me to do this, said, you'll be speaking to a room of your people, which I super appreciate. She said, you can talk about writing, you can talk about reading, you can talk about literacy, and while she was in fact just giving me options, of course, that turns out to be a pretty exhaustive list of what it is that I can talk about. I am married to a man who is one of those people who's annoyingly good at everything. He's a software engineer, but he also is a musician, and he also is an artist, and he also can explain Bitcoin to you and this kind of thing. He's the person who everyone we know is oh, he's the smartest person I know. Which obviously is really nice for me, but also, irritating. I am good at 2 things. I'm good at writing. I am good at reading. I'm good at talking about reading and writing. I'm good at teaching reading and writing. I have this very focalized, thing that I do, which is sort of the opposite. One of the things I want to say though is that's the ball game. That's what there is to talk about and think about. So it is what I can talk about, but it is also, in a very literal way, what I can talk about. I also would like to acknowledge at the start of things here that for most of us, this is our first event in 2 years. This is the first time we have been with this many people in a room like this, at an event like this, in a really, really long time. And so in a really different way, the only thing that I can talk about is this global pandemic, because it is this extraordinary shared experience, and I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't speak to that a little bit. So at the confluence of those things, what I thought it might be interesting to talk about today is the way in which a global pandemic is an awful lot like writing a novel. I do want to acknowledge at the beginning, however, of that writing a novel is not tragic. It feels tragic some mornings, but it is not tragic. And so obviously there's a lot of really horrible things that have happened in the last couple of years, and I don't want to minimize them, and I don't want to be super tongue-in-cheek about it. But I do want to say that there are a lot of useful confluences, useful overlaps between these two things, and therefore I thought it might be interesting to talk about what happens when there is no plan. What happens when there can't be and you have to figure out what to do anyway? What happens when you think you know what's going on and you think you've solved the problems, but then the problems change? And it turns out that all of the things that have put you in good stead, that you have learned before, that have worked in the past, don't work going forward, and yet you got to find your way forward anyway. This seems to me what we have all been doing in different ways for the last 2 years, and it is definitely what I do every morning when I get up. People are often saying to me like, "Oh, it must be so easy for you because you work at home," and that is not untrue. Another thing people say to me is, "Oh, I wish I could watch you. I would love to watch you work," and that is completely untrue. It's very, very, very boring. It involves me sitting on the sofa with a laptop for hours and hours and hours and hours on end. Super conducive to global pandemic. Not at all interesting to watch. This is true. When I wrote my first book, I did not know how to write a book. I do not think you can know whether you know how to write a novel without writing a novel. I think that is basically the only way to figure it out. This is different from other kinds of writing. If you write essays, if you write poetry, you could practice and then get rid of them. You could say, write a poem every day for a week and then reflect on that process and see what you learned. I know a lot of people who write novels really quickly. I am unfortunately not one of them, but I know a lot of people who are. None of them write novels in a day. You could not write a novel every day for a week and then throw it out and see what you had learned. So I didn't know what to do. I wrote a chapter. I saved it as one. I opened up a folder for it. I didn't know what it was called. It was novel. I called the folder novel. I saved the chapter as one. Then I wrote a second chapter, and I saved that file as 2. Then I wrote another chapter, and I saved that file as 3. One day, many, many months hence, I wrote a chapter. FYI, it was called 39, and I thought, oh, look at this. This is the end of the book. Who knew? I had never taken a writing class. I did not, but I taught a lot of writing classes. I read a lot of novels. I recognized it. I recognized it. Oh, yeah, that's the end of the book. Super. Then I didn't know what to do, so I opened up the first file and then the second file and cut and paste the second file into the first file. This is a mistake you only make once, by the way. I opened up the third file and cut and paste that in the first file. I spent most of an afternoon cutting and pasting the thing all into one document. I have a big document there. It seemed real long to me, but I didn't know. So then I had to alt-tab over to Google and say, how long is a novel? And I got the answer to that question when I overlooked at my document, and lo and behold, I had written a book. Super. Then I read that book, and it was, terrible. It was terrible. It was just the worst. And I knew that because I've read a lot of novels, and they're all real good. By definition, because I put down books when they are not good. I read a couple novels a week, probably most weeks. But if I don't like them, I know that people are offended by this. I don't mean to offend, but I don't finish them if they are not good. So I recognized this as being not good. And I thought, well, okay, now what? I've been teaching English for a number of years to know that it needed to be revised. That's what you do. And the notion of revision as an English teacher is really different from revising a 350-page document. And so I had no plan. I did not know how to go forward. I made it up as I went along. I revised this thing until it got better. And then I revised it some more, and then I revised it some more, and then I revised it some more. That's how the first one happened. That was the thing that had no planning at all. Metaphorically, that was March 2020. I had no idea what I was doing. I kept doing it until I figured it out. That was very exciting because then I became a novelist. It was not remotely what I thought it was going to be. It is a funny thing to do for a living, I think, and it did not prepare me to write another one. So that is the other thing that I keep thinking these last couple of years is that the thing that worked last month doesn't work, as it turns out, next month, because the nature of the thing changed. In fact, the entire world changed. So the idea that everything else wasn't going to have to change too was kind of ridiculous. This turns out to be true of worlds that you're living in and also worlds that you're building. My second novel is about a software engineer who invents a way for people to correspond with their dead loved ones. I wrote this in 2011. It required you to take this remarkable leap of faith as a reader to imagine a time in the future when you would be able to do what I was calling video chat. They classified this thing as science fiction. And I did not write it in 1940. I was not alive in 1940. This is pretty recent. So very quickly, everything is changing all around us. And so I thought, okay, this is what I've learned. This is what is going to serve me from the last one to the next one. This is what I'm going to take and carry forward so that I don't have to do this from scratch every time. My third novel, which in fact lots of you are sitting on, I think, or at least have at your table, is called This Is How It Always Is. It is a book about a family of 5 boys, the youngest of whom becomes a girl. It's a book about a transgender child. When I started it, I wasn't sure that it was going to be about a transgender child. When I started it, I did not have a transgender child. By the end of the draft, both of those things were true. I both had a transgender child and was writing a book about a transgender child. And I was panicked. I'm very, very keen, of course, to protect her privacy and well-being now and in the future. That is, I neither felt comfortable thinking about what she might want then, but I also did not want to presume what she was going to want in 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. And as you know, what lives on the internet lives on the internet forever. And so I called my agent and said, I will not publish this book and you cannot make me. And she said, well, it's under contract. I actually could make you. And I said, there's no way we can do this. It cannot be done. We cannot let this book into the world and also guarantee my kids' privacy and safety. And she said, we're going to find the house. We're going to find the editor who can put this book out, but also protect her privacy. In fact, what I said to her was, I'll just use a pen name. And she said, okay, but are you also going to get a disguise? Because it wasn't my first book. So she's saying, you're going to go to the bookstore and people are going to say, oh, hey, I recognize you from having written this other book. This isn't going to work. And so that is what we did. We found the publisher who was going to be able to protect my kid and protect her future and allow me to do this thing on my terms. And this is something else I have come back to again and again in the last couple of years, is that the fact that I cannot see a solution does not mean that a solution doesn't exist. It seemed impossible to me, and I think it is on pitch to think that I'm going to be able to go out there as my actual human self with my actual name and not talk about my kid, and not have pictures of her and not have her name show up. And they figured out a way to do that. And so a thing that I was not planning for at all at the beginning, I did not see that either one of these things were going to happen. I was surprised when they come together. It turns out that books, like children, don't do what you think that they're going to. And it also turns out that books like children are not remotely under your control. They go where they will, whether you will or no, and it doesn't matter how pissed off you are about it because they're going to do the thing that they're going to do. And so what you have to do is learn how to live in that, is learn how to be in the place that is full of not knowing, that is full of impossible to solve problems, and then solve them anyway. So that was that book. The book that my fourth novel, which came out in June, is called 1, 2, 3. that book left my hands. That book came out in June 2021. It left my hands in March of 2020. So like just as all of this was just starting, the very last edit we made on that book, my editor sent me an email and said, I think this might be a silly question, but you have the book is narrated by teenagers. You have a sarcastic reference to an apocalypse. Is that funny anymore? And yeah, and I mean, and we took it out. We took it out because it wasn't clear to us that it was going to be funny anymore. That book, therefore, came out in a completely different world than the one it was written for. The world changed entirely in the space between editing and publication, and all we could do, and all any of us could do, was watch that happen. That book is 125,000 words. I cut 310,000 words from that book. So this is another thing that I want to offer you in the way of life lessons that come from the confluence of writing novels and the world ending, which is that it doesn't come out right the first time, or the second time, or the third time. I think I edited that book well into the mid-hundreds. I was counting for a while, and I was up at 500 something of starting at the beginning and editing to the end, and then going back to the beginning and editing to the end, and then going back to the beginning and editing to the end, until I had cut more than twice as much as ended up in the final thing, close to 3. And that, too, I think, has served me really well. This knowledge that it's going to be really terrible for a really long time. That does not mean it is going to be terrible forever. It is going to be really broken for a really long time, but that doesn't mean either that it can't be fixed or that it needs to be given up on. It just needs to be kept after. That process is so slow. It's really slow. It is not at all gratifying, but it's so important. The book that I am writing right now, the novel that I am writing right now, I started on March 3rd. 2020 on retreat at a lovely organization called Ragdale. It has it's a writing retreat house in a prairie outside of Chicago in the middle of absolutely nowhere. It's actually probably the place that you want to be when the pandemic hits, excepting your desire to get home to your family. And the length, obviously, that I would still be there, these many years later, in my little room with my little laptop. I was on writing retreat, and so for 7 days, I guess, I was writing 4,000 words a day. I started this new book. I opened up a blank document. And I was super productive. One of the nice things about writing retreats is, one of the nice things is your kid is somewhere else, and someone else is running carpool and making dinner and helping with homework and all of these things that take a lot of time. And the other thing is that someone else is doing all of that for you. Someone was cooking for me. Someone was making really all of my decisions. All I had to do was work. I was wildly productive. Seattle Public Schools sent an email on the 8th day, maybe, and said, bad news, we are sending your child home, and we don't want to see her again for a year and a half. And so I went home, and I counted myself lucky to be able to get home. And I opened up my draft, and I thought, super. I work from home. I can work from home, sit on my sofa, and write this novel. But instead of having all day in front of me, I wrote in pretty much 15-minute increments the whole rest of that book that was interrupted every few minutes by her saying, oh, I can't get online, and this person won't turn on their camera, and I need help with my math homework. I can't help her with her math homework. I made you an exhaustive list. I can do writing. I can do reading. If she had been studying Hamlet in middle school, big thumbs up. She was not studying Hamlet in middle school. I can't help her with math without I sit down and, in fact, how am I doing on time? In fact, what has to happen is my husband, you may recall, who can do everything, he can understand the math, but he can't explain it to her. So he would learn the math. He would explain to me the math. I would explain to the child the math. And hope that not too much gets lost in translation. And he sits there, he's like, no, that's not what I said. It's not like that. And because I'm good at the teaching and the talking part, but not at the math part, that's a hard way to write a book. That's a hard way to get, to get out of your brain and back to the world all the time. And yet, you write a book in 15 minutes. You can write a book in 15-minute increments, 15 minutes at a time. Every 15 minutes you sit down and you do another couple sentences. Every 15 minutes you go back and try to make it a little bit less terrible than it is at the beginning. And I sent that book to my agent yesterday before I got on an airplane to come here. Yes. Thank you. That is very kind of you. And it is not itself not a mess. It has 2 timelines, and one of them I wrote and threw out completely. So that is to say, these processes are not smooth, but it is also not necessary to panic. It doesn't go well the first time, but that's okay because we have lots more time. There are ways to learn these things and to improve as we go along. And by way of closing, what I want to offer you is that at least in my head, the opposite of a global pandemic is reading. And so while I think writing a book has a lot in common with COVID, I think reading is actually the solution and the balm to all of these things. Books are not necessarily answering the questions, but they're asking them. And they're inviting you along the way to figuring it out. And they have themselves solved a whole lot of problems. And so this is where I have turned again and again and again. In the last 2 years, and frankly, my entire life, is to books and the sense and the faith that they embody. So what I want to wish you all is fewer global pandemics and more good books going forward. But also great faith that these are problems that can be solved. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you for being here. I would never think of that analogy at all, but I love it. Thank you. It made me feel a little bit more hopeful. So that's really cool. All right, can we, Lori will be out in the lobby signing her books out there if you would like to. If you have one that's signed already but you would like it personalized, she will do that as well. But meanwhile, can we bring up that thermometer again and see where we're at here?
I like it off. Okay, everybody, this is our turn. This is our turn to give the gift of literacy to everybody that we know in this community. It's our responsibility and our privilege to help those who need it the most. So we are at almost $86,000. We need $100,000. This goes back to GED classes. This is citizenship classes. This is teaching people English. This is giving early childhood education to those kids who need it. As we all know, sadly, Idaho still does not provide free early childhood education. We provide that at the Learning Lab. Our parents come to the classes and the kids get to learn as well. But we need you. We are all privately funded. We don't get any national, federal grants. This is all up to our community. It's our community that makes us so strong. So it's our turn to give. Okay, now, come on, everybody. I know the internet's very slow here, but just keep trying. Just keep trying. It'll happen. We're so close. We already hit our 30. We got our Miller Foundation, got us up to 60. Now we're at 80. We're at 87. We have so much. Oh, we have Janine Bastian, who already got a table and she donated. We've got Danielle Kral. We've got Katie Wardell. We've got lots more coming. Okay, we're there. We're 86,000. We have 14,000 to go. Oh, what? We got a $10,000 donation from an anonymous person. We're at, that should, oh, sorry, that already got there. That was made it to the 86. Whoops, sorry. I was like, we made it. I would have done a cartwheel if we had just made it. Okay, we're at Christina Graff. We've got Dana Zuckerman. Thank you, Dana. You're in the back there. We got Rosa Urtia. Woohoo. Okay, everybody, you know you want your name called. Oh, Pam Solon. Thank you. $200 from Pam. So here's the deal. We hit it, and then I leave the stage. So if you want me to get off the stage, we got to hit that 100,000. No, but seriously, thank you so much. Thank you. You can keep donating. If your internet is really slow, we do have remit cards on the table. So feel free to use a remit card. You can write a check or you can put your credit card and hold it up, and we have somebody from Learning Lab who will come grab it for me. Ooh, look at that remit card. I think that's going to get us over 100,000. We got one right there. All right, well, thank you. And we thank you so much for coming. And one last thing. We also, like we talked about the tutors, volunteering is essential in our organization. It's hours and hours of volunteers. So if you found yourself today thinking, hey, I'd like to get involved, I'd like to come meet a student, I'd like to volunteer, please reach out to us because we are always looking for fabulous people. Thank you, Monique.
She's hired. Okay, we're almost there. Oh, we're almost there. Oh, 87.5. All right, we can do it. We'll keep adding to this thermometer. I want to thank you. I'm going to have Kara come up again and wish you all well.
Thank you. I don't really want to go after Missy. That was amazing. Thank you all. Yes, thank you again. We are so close to that $100,000 goal. Thank you, everybody who, I don't know if I'm going to get this back in. Thank you, everybody who has donated so far, and I'm waiting to see the cartwheel. I think we're gonna get to the cartwheel. I want to give a thank you also to the everybody at the Learning Lab, the Boise Center, Auction Frogs, who have pulled this together today. It's as anyone who has had to plan an event in the pandemic, it's a huge feat. It's a huge feat in a regular year. So thank you to everybody who has worked so hard on this today. And thank you to all of you here in person, all of you who are attending virtually for celebrating and supporting the amazing work that is done through the Learning Lab here in Idaho. And thank you to Lori for coming and yes, really bringing this event together and for such a relevant talk at the moment as well. So thank you so much. Once again, a reminder that her books will be sold out in the lobby, and she'll be signing them and also personalizing those. So don't miss the chance to chat with her. She's a lot of fun. If you have a sticky note, don't forget to take your centerpiece. If you're like my table and you had 2 sticky notes, try not to fight over the centerpiece too much. I'm not sure how that happened, but it was entertaining. And don't forget that the silent auction, if you want to bid on books, on book baskets, and on experiences, that will be open until tomorrow at 12 o'clock. So thank you, everybody. Once again, we're up to 90,000. I really think we're going to get up to the 100,000. Thank you for supporting the literacy, the education, the young, the early education work that's happening at the Learning Lab. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your lunch. Grab another wine. Enjoy chatting with people. And thank you. We can't wait to see you next year for the 30th Lunch for Literacy.